Awesome. Okay. So basically what the number one thing you want to do is figure out when you are getting ready to do an open house, you've got to pick your house like you pick a storefront. So you don't want to just do an open house on just any random house. You want to figure out the best location, the house that's going to have the best upgrades that are going to attract a buyer. So it's no different than Starbucks picking a place where they're going to have a storefront. So you want to pick a house that you know is going to be desirable, that all the buyers are going to want, and that people are going to be attracted to coming to. So you're going to start promoting the open house 7 days before. And I'm going to show you examples. I run Facebook ads. I'll shoot a video to blast out. I create postcards that I can run on Facebook or out on the internet. I'll show you examples of those. And basically you just start boosting all throughout the internet to promote the open house coming. This is an example of a video that I created for this house. This is an example of a postcard I created. Normally when I create this postcard, where the house is on the left actually has a video running in it. So as I'm blasting it out on the internet, I have a virtual tour running on the left side, so people can click on and see a full virtual tour of the house before they actually even, get to the open house along with the pictures. I create a lead capture page, and when you do this, you can actually lead capture people that are interested in the open house. And I've had a lot of people that have come to open houses from a lead capture. I'll call them, talk to them about the house, set up an appointment for them to come by and take a look at it. And then I run Facebook ads. And this particular house was an $800,000 house. I ran Facebook ads for 2 days on it. When my photographer comes, I'll do a 4 megabyte picture like what you see here. So it captures the whole front or the whole screen. So that when you run the Facebook ad, you don't have a little tiny picture of the house. You have a huge picture that's showing. This is what the ad looked like. In 2 days, I ran this ad. We had about 2,800 people that clicked on it, and we wound up selling the house, open house, 2 days later. So this is a brochure we created. I have a brochure that's full color, 4-page. It folds up. This goes into the house in a holder, an acrylic holder, to be able to hand out to people open house. If it's a less expensive home, I'll do flyers, and I'll show you some flyers that we hand out. But basically what you're doing is you're preparing yourself and staging it so that every step of the way you're thinking about how you're going to hit people, whether it's online, on the phone, in person, at the open house. What are you going to do to make sure that people are getting the information they need to be able to make a decision of whether they want to move forward? And then 5 days before the open house, we do circle calling. Now you can do this. You can have your VA do this, or one of your buyer's agents can do this. Whole Resources is a great one to use, or RedX. You can actually pull all of the neighbors' houses and pull up phone numbers for them to call around. And then basically your script is going to be, hey, we wanted to invite you to an open house. Please let us know if you have any friends or family that are looking to move to the neighborhood. We'd love to help you pick your neighbors. And many times we wind up getting people that bring people to the open house, or even we wind up getting listings through it. You also want to think about contact a lender that you work with a lot. You can ask them to sit at the open house with you. You can ask them to set up on your table a section where they're going to pre-qualify people while they're there. They many times also have marketing budget where they'll pay for all the refreshments, or they'll pay for the prize if you're going to give a prize away. So lenders love doing that because they get a chance to meet more buyers too. Then about 3 to 4 days before the open, I'll go by the house. I'll take a flip cam or use my iPhone, and you can take a video of the property, describe qualities, what's so special about the home, and then you can start blasting it out on YouTube, Facebook, Craigslist, other social media sites. About 2 to 3 days prior to the open house is where this is the biggest thing. If you're a new agent, and as I'm going through these slides, some people can get overwhelmed with the amount of things I do, But if you're a new agent and you don't have any money to get started and you're like, how in the world do I do this as cheap as possible? This is the one thing you're really going to want to do. You're going to want to print flyers and deliver to the neighbors. If you can deliver to every single neighbor in the neighborhood, that's the best way to do it, especially if you have a large neighborhood. It may take you 2 days to deliver flyers. You may have to take your kids with you to help deliver flyers, or friends that might help you. But the more flyers you deliver, the better, because I look at every door that I put a flyer on as pretty much, because a lot of my houses are around 300. I look at every door as $9,000. So as I'm going around the neighborhood, I'll door knock, I'll try to meet the neighbor, and I'll use it basically as a farming technique for the open house. And I actually will show you the flyer that I use, but basically I say, hey, your neighbor asked me to stop by. Number one, that keeps people from shutting the door in your face. And then the second thing I say is they wanted to invite you to come to their open house. And number two, if people are being invited to something, especially if a neighbor is inviting them, they're not going to be mean to you, because you're just doing what their neighbor asked. And people normally aren't going to be mean if it's a neighbor just because they don't want a bad rap in the neighborhood. So usually that gets the doors open, and then basically I'll hand them a flyer saying, hey, your neighbor wanted me to invite you to an open house. They know that a lot of times people wind up inviting their friends or family to come look at the houses because everybody wants to live next to their friends and family. We would love to have you bring them. And normally you can get into a conversation and find out, by the way, normally I have about 50 open houses, and obviously only one person can purchase this property. So I usually wind up having a good handful of people that have come to the neighborhood, fallen in love with the neighborhood, and would like to move to the neighborhood, but lost out on this particular property. So I'm always looking to see if there are other neighbors interested in making a move, because I have so many other buyers that are going to be wanting to move to the neighborhood. And it opens up the opportunity for you to talk to people about whether they're interested in making a move or not. So that right there is key, especially for you new agents. That's super key to help you be able to build your business. And that's one of the main things I did to basically take over an 800 house neighborhood within a 6-month period of time by doing this. And people basically said, I see you everywhere. Your signs are everywhere. I was door knocking every week, 800 houses, and people got to know me really well. The other thing you can do is have a private showing for the neighbors the night before your open house. So what you can do is walk around, invite them to come. It's just a neighborhood party, open house, wine and cheese night. And it's a time for them to pick their neighbors. And people love coming to that because they love getting together with their neighbors, and it gives them an opportunity to see the house, and then they can bring their friends and family the next day or even the night before and have a chance to try to put in an offer on the property before it goes to public. Okay, so you're going to want to put advertising everywhere. We're on pretty much every internet site there is available. If you really get aggressive, you can actually go to the carpool lines at the school where parents are picking up their kids and hand out flyers there. We've done that. That way you can actually talk to parents of, the kids that live in the area. And a lot of people like to live next to their friends and family. And probably 50% of the people that come into our open houses are neighbors that are bringing people in. You can always place notices in your local MLS, which will help push it out. Your photographers have sites, any other marketing site you have, even beyond Zillow, Realtor.com, agent marketing, listings to leads, those kinds of sites. This is what my flyer looks like. And over the years, I've changed all of this. And basically, you guys, I have pretty much paid for every marketing open house class there is because this is such a big part of my business. I've wanted to learn from the best of the best. And so over the years, I've realized that if you put on your flyer, the very top of your flyer, you're invited. People, when they see the words you're invited, instead of just throwing your flyer into the trash thinking it's garbage, they realize that they're being invited to something. And normally most people realize it's a neighborhood thing. So I tend to have people look at my flyers instead of throw them out because they're realizing they're being invited. The other thing I do on the flyer is I put specifically, bring your friends, family, coworkers, anyone looking to move to the area. And the reason why is you're implanting in their head what you want them to think about. Because normally, no different than if you call someone and say, hey, do you know somebody looking to move? People are automatically going to say no. But if you're putting in their head, hey, do you have any friends? Do you have any family members? Are there any coworkers that you know that are looking to make a move? All of a sudden, it psychologically starts processing in people's heads. And then they're like, oh, you know what? My friend at work said that they were wanting to move to the area, and they'll call them and they'll bring them to your open house. So more than anything on this flyer is that top section that's the most important, because number one, you're inviting them. So it's not confrontational, and you're not inviting them to a party. And then number two, you're trying to put in their head who they know that could be looking to move to the area. Those are the two most important parts of the flyer. Delivering the flyers, you always roll them opposite or upside down so that when you see on the different doorknobs, you can see where it says you're invited. Again, that's the most important part, that you want to catch their eyes to the you're invited, so that that intrigues them and they're going to open it and look at your flyer. So 2 to 3 days before the actual open house, I'll call my title rep, and I'll get them to pull information on the property if I can. And I also want anything I can get from the lender. If the lender's not coming, I want information on the property so that I can have the different loan types that people could use, so that they'll have the information about what it would cost them to move into the property. Okay, so when you're preparing for the open house, you want to make sure you have flyers like I showed you, or just flyers on heavy stock cards. You want to make sure you have all the features and amenity sheets on heavy stock card too, because you want to be able to tell people what's going on with the property, what's in the property, why is this property special, or what are the things that you want them to know about it. Always bring a list of any detached homes that are in that zip code, no matter what the size is, because you're going to have a lot of people come through your open house because they're driving around looking at neighborhoods and they're just interested. And when they come in, they say, yeah, I love this house, but I can't afford this house. Oh, well, not a problem. I've got all the other houses that are available in the area. What price range are you looking for? And it gives you the ability to have the conversation about what else they might be looking for. The other thing is you need to have a CMA for the property to be prepared from an appraisal perspective, to explain to people why it's priced the way it's priced and how it will appraise and how it is going to be supported if they, no matter what loan type they're getting. And then obviously you want to have a sales packet ready to write an offer in case somebody comes in wanting to buy the house right then. A day before the open house, I everything with me. I'll even bring little doggy biscuits. I'll bring cookies. I'll bring, I have balloons. I have pepper spray for you women if you're going to be alone. I have Kleenexes and napkins and water bottles. Anything you could think of that you might possibly need at the open house. I have a big crate that I use as my open house crate that I carry all my supplies in. And then if something happens with the weather, you need to talk to the listing agent if you're not the listing agent, and talk to the seller, because when you start ramping up an open house, you're blasting it out and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to see it. And if for some reason something happens, you need to try to alert people if you're not going to be moving forward with the open, because people will show up and start knocking on the people's door, and they will be mad if you're not there. Even if the weather's bad, you'd be surprised. Okay, 2 to 3 hours prior to the open house, signage is key. Statistically, one of the main reasons people go to an open house are the signs that lead them to the open house. And we have literally over half of our traffic comes from the open houses, even though we do a lot of internet marketing. And I only use the really big signs. I saw in our Facebook group, somebody had worked out a deal to get some EXP signs made. And if you can afford it, I would recommend you buying them, because people steal your signs. If you have signs that do not have your name or your company on it, you would be amazed at how many people steal your signs. As well, the cities wind up taking your signs. So I only use the larger ones because I want to make sure people can see them. For my MLS, they're about $15 a piece, but it's worth it because I want as much attention and traffic on the open house as possible. And it's good to have the day and time on it. So normally my open houses are from 12 to 4. Do it at the same time every time, so that way I can write it on there, and then that way I can just reuse those signs every week. I also have flags. I'm going to show you examples of all this. I have big flags I put in front of the houses, and then I also have balloons that I hang on the signs in front of the open house. So this is what signage location looks like. We had this house, 5636 Grove Cove, and you can see from the main highway leading all the way up to the actual house itself where I would put signs. I'll normally put 2 signs at every road or every intersection. Sometimes on the big intersections I'll put 4, but I'll do at least 15 to 30 signs per open house. And the thing you got to realize is people are coming from all over the place. So you want to make sure you have signs at every intersection or every major road to be able to lead people to your house. And think about it from the perspective of you're leading them like you would lead a dog with biscuits or treats. Because basically, if you put one open house sign down on the main road, and then your next open house sign isn't until the road getting to the house, how in the world are they going to know where you're at? So the more open house signs, the better. The bigger open house signs better. So I'll use the big ones like this, so that way, and mine are in red, but I do have some blue ones, but mine are in red because I want to make sure people don't miss them. And I want to make sure I can help them get to the open house. These are the flags I use. They're about 6 foot tall. They're super easy to take care of, and then they break down and fold into a little bag you carry in the back of your car. You do 2 of them on either side of the driveway or the walkway because I'm trying to get attention. I want as much attention as possible on the open house. And then an hour before the open house, I set up a card table. I went to Sam's and bought one of those nice fold out tables with a nice chair that goes with it and a tablecloth. And I'll sit at a couple feet from the door because you're really trying to create a barrier. You want to make sure that you talk to everybody that comes in the house. You are running a storefront. It's not just you opening a door and letting people willy-nilly come in and do whatever they want. You're running a storefront. So you're positioning yourself as the authority. You're setting up a table. You're prepared. And you're auditioning potential sellers that could be coming into the house that are in the neighborhood. And this is one of the main things that I did, was use these open houses to position me. And I would usually wind up getting at least a minimum of 1 to 2 sellers per neighborhood on every open house that I do. You are in charge of who comes in that front door. And if somebody walks in the door that you don't feel comfortable with, or you feel like something is not right with them, you have the right to say that they're not allowed to come into the open house. On the table, we use clipboards, and we have the acrylic clipboards, and we have sign-in sheets, but we have little surveys that I'll show you what we use to walk people through the house. We also have a sign that says seller requests the visitors to sign in. You can put a sign on the front door, and you can put a sign on your table. But basically you have the sign-in sheet, you have the surveys on clipboards, you have the little sign saying they request you to sign in. There's a flyer stand to put your flyers in. And you can also have a little sign that says, don't forget to ask about our list of properties not yet on the market. Before you start the open house, you want music on. I carry a little boom box with me with jazz music that I plug in, so that way as people are walking through the open house, they have nice soft music if the owner doesn't have a surround sound system through the house. You want to make sure the owner hides everything, removes everything, so that nothing gets stolen from them. You also want to make sure you have all of the other resources available to you, asking you for other information outside the open house. You dress professional. You do not be on your cell phone. I've had many homeowners tell me that they've had other agents do open houses for them, and people have come in and told them, friends have come in and told them that people sit at their desk and don't even get up to show them the property, and that they walk through the whole property without the agent actually ever talking to them. So do not be on your cell phone. Get up, be at the table, answer the door, talk to them, walk through the house with them, Make sure you're engaging them as you go through. You're there to serve people and to help people and to tell them about the property. So this is how we get leads from people. So we have these surveys that basically our goal is to make sure that we get their information and we get a chance to talk with them and see if we can help them. So when they come in, we ask them to fill out the survey. We let them know that the seller is asking for feedback and their opinion on the property. And so we're handing them this clipboard with the survey. And then when they're done, basically, as they're getting closer to the end of the tour, we'll ask them, hey, what did you think about the house? And, I noticed that you rated the floor plan as a 5. What would it be for you to get it to a 10? And so they may respond that they need a bedroom downstairs. And you're like, I'm really glad you shared that. I do know of another home in the area that does have a bedroom down if you're not able to purchase this property because it doesn't have a second bedroom down. And then you work to get their name and phone number in order to be able to set up a time to show them the other house. But it also helps you to be able to figure out what's going on with your seller's property. And this gives you a chance to be able to give them feedback on what people said and what they liked and didn't like about the property. This is what our survey looks like, or this is the actual one we use. We talk about the condition of the interior, the exterior, the location, the upgrades, the floor plan, and the price. And we try to figure out if they're looking to buy or sell and when they're looking to buy or sell. Scripts that you can use are, sometimes people say they don't want to sign in, and I can send these slides to Brad to share with you guys. I know we don't have a lot of time and I have a lot of information to go through, but I have different scripts that we use that I'm happy to share with you guys of what to do to try to get information. The other thing you want to realize is I'm doing them from 12 to 4. If I'm going to be at an open house, I'm not going to do just 2 hours. I'm going to make sure that I cover, there's really 2 times that I find that most people go to open houses. They tend to go around the 12 o'clock or, right after lunchtime, depending on if it's a Sunday after church. And then for whatever reason, 4 o'clock seems to be the bewitching hour. And lots of people tend to come at around 4 o'clock. We usually wind up being at an open house until 5 or 5:30 because we have so many people that continue to come to the property. So we do them for a long time, because if you're putting all of this effort in and you're doing all of this work, you want to make sure that you're utilizing all the time and getting the most bang for your time as possible. So there is going to be time that is going to be downtime. Sometimes not, but sometimes there is. So you want to make sure you bring things to do while you're at the open house that you can be working when there's no one there, whether it's writing thank you cards, doing other marketing, doing other classes. Just make sure that you're prepared. Don't just go to the open house with nothing to do, and then if no one shows up that hour. Immediately after the open house, I'm going to close all the doors, all the windows, turn off lights, blow out candles. I'm going to contact the listing agent to let them know how it went. If I'm not the listing agent, I'm going to write a handwritten note to the sellers thanking them for allowing me to come to the open house. The other big thing that we'll do is we take a selfie video. So basically what you can do is flip your camera around on your phone, take a video of yourself saying, thank you so much for coming to the open house. If you're doing a prize, you can let the person know, do a video just for the person that won the prize, telling them that they won. But you let them know that you're going to touch base with them, that you look forward to helping them with their future purchase or sale of their own property, because you can do multiple videos to send people one by one if you want, or you can just do one stock video that you send out to everybody that came to the open house. So what that does, if you think about it, when people go to open houses, many times people won't go to just your open house. They're going to multiple open houses. So they're going to, maybe the other 3 open houses that are in the neighborhood. And many times the truth is probably most agents don't even follow up right away with people. So by you doing a video and sending it out immediately to people right after the open house, thanking them for coming, number one, they're seeing your face again. You're reminding them what house that they came in. If you're doing private videos, you're reminding them of what they said they liked about the house. And then it's putting you in touch with them so that you can then follow up with them by email or giving them a call the next day. Okay, following up from the open house, you want to send teaser emails that night. So not only are you doing a video, but then you're shutting down the open house, going to pick up all your signs, going home. You want to log all the people that you met into the open house into your CRM. You want to make sure everybody's set up on campaigns. You send an email again, thanking them, letting them know what you're going to do based on what your conversation was. If I told someone I was going to set up a search for them of Collin County for 300,000 or whatever, I will have done that. And then in my email, I let them know that I did what I told them I was going to do. And then let them know when I'm going to call them, which is usually the next day. And then the next day I'm going to call people, make sure they got my email. I'm going to work on setting up buyer consultation appointments, or for the sellers that came through the house, I'm going to work on setting up listing presentations to go to their house and do a presentation to them. And again, you guys, this is the goal. The reason why we do all this work, the reason why we take all this time to do these on these open houses, is you're trying to get as many buyers and sellers as possible. Yes, you're trying to sell the house you're in, because it would be great to sell the house you're in. That way you're not having to go drive around and show people 50 other houses. But you also are trying to make sure you lead capture every single person that walks in that door. And you do have some people that will come in that say they already have an agent. Please make sure to ask them if they have a buyer rep agreement signed with someone, because many people will use that as a flag, just trying to keep you from talking to them. But you want to find out if they have a signed agreement with another agent. And if they don't have a signed agreement and a relationship with another agent, it gives you the opportunity to follow up with them and hopefully be able to earn their business. And then basically you just repeat until you have an appointment. You just keep going with the emails and the phone calls, texts, to stay in touch with people to get the appointments. And then once you have someone under contract, you're going to send to every neighbor that has an expired, canceled in the MLS that show that you have that house pending and that you're the one that got it under contract. And then you call back all those attendees that came to the open house. You let them know that that property is under contract, and let them know that you're still happy to help them find something else in the area. And maybe at that point you've gotten a couple sellers that are interested in selling in the neighborhood, and you let them know that you can do private showings with them on the houses that are going to be coming up prior to them hitting the MLS. Okay, where to find open houses. So you can hold your own inventory open. That's number one. You can hold your team's inventory open. You can hold the listings in your office open. And you can also hold FSBOs open. So FSBOs, I again have a script here that I will send Brad, and then he can send this all to you guys. But FSBOs are great because they're trying to sell their house. And obviously most FSBOs don't have great marketing or aren't doing anything close to what we're doing. Even I know some FSBOs have even held open houses themselves and not very successful because they don't know what they're doing. So they're great opportunities for you to hold an open house and have an agreement with them that if a buyer comes in that wants to buy their house, that you'll give them that buyer, or make a deal for them on what you would charge on commission to get the deal done. And then you get all the other buyers to take and go sell something else to. So that is a really great way to get open houses. And we've actually done open houses for people and then converted them into a listing through them. It's a great way to convert people into an actual listing as well. Seller scripts, I'll again give this to Brad, that if you guys have questions, we will be happy to help you ramp this up and be successful. And that is the end of my slides. Brad, I'm going to open the world up and hopefully be able to answer any text in the chat box or any questions they have. And
Hi, Sheila.
Hello, I'm so sorry this was so fast too, you guys.
No problem. I had a quick question.
Sure.
When you're boosting your ads, how much do you typically boost them for? How much money do you usually invest into that?
Facebook has changed a lot. It used to be that I was able to do $1 to $2 a day, and I would wind up getting a lot of hits from that. But recently, probably within the last 6 months, they changed it to where really you got to do kind of $5 a day. You don't have to do it that many days if you can't afford it. And only want to do 2 days to 3 days prior to the open house, you can do that. But if you can afford it, I would do more days, because if you think about it, anything you do online, if you can lead capture people and have them contact you prior, number one, you're going to capture them and possibly get a contract before the open house starts. And number two, you could take somewhere else. So it's worth it to me to do it. It's totally up to you and based on your financial situation. And then the other thing I do is, if I do get a contract prior to the open house still happens. I make sure the seller knows I cannot cancel an open house once I have it going, because I am literally sending things out to thousands and thousands of people, and it's not something you can just stop. It's like a train. So I go ahead and do the open house. I let people know at the open house that we already have an offer on the house that the seller has accepted, but that they can put a backup in, or that I'm happy to show them something else.
Okay, awesome. And also, what age groups and demographics do you usually try and? I know in Facebook boosts you can kind of choose where you're going to send it. Do you just do a boosted ad and just send it out to everyone, or are you more particular with who you're going to send it to?
I'm particular because I'm paying for it. And so basically I want to make sure, based on the price range, usually determines what the age group is that I pick, and also the area that I'm picking. But typically I'll do a 25 to 60, because, a lot of the price ranges, you'd be surprised here in Dallas how many people in their late 20s. I'm closing one at the end of this month. Their dad is paying cash for a $350,000 house for them. So we have a lot of younger people that the parents are paying cash for them. And so I'm including a 25 age up to, 60 plus.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know you were in Dallas. Maybe I'll drop by one of your open houses someday.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
I have a question, Sheila.
Sure.
What do you do if somebody comes to the open house and they won't fill anything out? I just want to look through. Just want to take a quick look at it.
Well,
I'm
honestly,
curious.
that's
Yeah.
up to you, in the sense of, you are running that open house. You have a right to say to that person that they're not allowed to come to the open house. Because what you can say to them is that, honestly, the seller has asked me to make sure that everybody signs in. The seller doesn't feel comfortable having anyone in their house if they don't at least have a name and phone number, knowing who has walked through their home. They don't want just anyone randomly walking through their property. And if you're not willing to do that, I'm sorry, but the seller has asked me to not let people in.
Okay. Okay.
That's up to you. It's up to you. Again, I'm not saying I always do that. I usually would only do that with someone that I get skeevy feelings with, that I just don't feel comfortable with that person. If it's just a normal person that's kind of being, difficult or whatever, usually I'll let them in, and they're not someone I would just let walk through the open house. I would walk with them and work to win them over by the end of the open, to hopefully be able to win them over.
Okay. Okay. And then one other question. What do you do? You said you're showing them around the property, and when you're showing them around the property, other people are walking in the door. How do you manage that?
Many times we have multiple people at my open houses. I'll have at least 2 buyers agents besides me, or I'll use that as training for my buyers agents, or usually my buyers agents have at least 2 or 3 of them at the open house together. Safety reasons, I personally don't like to do open houses by myself, because in Dallas we've had a couple of different people killed being in houses, and I don't like to do them alone. So usually I'll tag team with people in order to be able to handle the volume of people coming in.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had another question.
Sure.
So you said you're in Dallas. One of the things that I noticed about Dallas is that people get hounded um, by roofing companies. And that's a big deterrent for me because, you know, when I start door knocking homes that are 300,000 plus, I notice people are getting more hostile because they get bombarded with, with, you know, solicitors. I'm just wondering, do you typically ignore those kinds of neighborhoods for door knocking, or do you just, even though, you know, you could tell that they're getting hounded, you still approach those doors?
Oh, I definitely approach those doors because I'm approaching it again. I'm not soliciting. So if you really go with the attitude of, hey, your neighbor asked me to stop by, and you're using the language of your neighbor asked me to invite you, key. Because if it's their neighbor asking, number one, most are going to be like, sure, what do they need? And if you're saying they're inviting you to something, who doesn't want to be invited to something? So people, I don't have people be defensive once I say that. I can't say I've ever had somebody slam the door in my face in the years I've been doing it when I say, hey, your neighbor asked me to stop by and they asked me to invite you to their open house. And once I say that, normally people are like, oh, sure, what do they need?
Got you. Yeah, definitely. That approach, I'm gonna try that out because when you other approaches seem to be getting doors slammed in my face, but I think that just happens, right?
Yeah, it does. And again, it's the attitude you go in with. Hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help your neighbor. If you go in with a servant, kind of laid back, kind of cool, hey, just want to invite you to a party kind of attitude, you're not selling anything. And then depending on the energy and the feedback I get from them when I'm inviting them, some people will just say no, don't, not interested.